Graham Plattner won. This is not surprising to anyone who has been following the main election. He won the primary. He won it by like 60 points. It was like 75-15 or some shit. Plattner! This is an expected victory, like Mills dropped out. But good to see he won anyway. You ready for the vocal fry?
Oh. Well, thank you, Meng.
Even with the bogus sexual assault allegations? Yeah, no kidding. The Uniparty is trying everything in their power to take him down. They really just are not stopping. It is crazy how far they've been going. Take a look at this, man. They are literally doing pro-Collins propaganda right outside. Look at this. To paraphrase a tweet, as I'm so fond of doing. Susan Collins on Graham Plattner's denials of allegations in New York Times report. So rather than going to Graham Plattner to talk to him, CNN is interviewing the decrepit, senile, pedophile defending Senator Susan Collins to get her take on the issue. Mainstream media doesn't even want to touch Plattner. They just want to attack him from a distance. I saw, man, I can't believe, okay. There was a poll that went around. Look at this. This got a lot of attention because it's so fucking crazy, okay? TPSI poll, U.S. Senate Maine 2026, Collins versus Plattner, undecided 13.2%. When voters are informed of Plattner's scandals. And then for some reason, the poll says that when voters are informed of Graham Plattner's scandals, he goes up 8 points over Collins. I don't know, like the pollsters are like, what if I told you Plattner raped people? And then the main voter is like, I'm sold. I don't understand. Anyway, so there's multiple layers to this. I don't understand why this result happened, but also there was a follow-up post. This is how the question was worded when voters were informed of Plattner's controversies. Quote, rumors allege Graham Plattner sexually assaulted multiple women and texted, I would rape them to show I'm dominant. His wife is defending him. Knowing this, who would you vote for in the 2026 Maine Senate race? This didn't happen. This is a lie. The rumors allege, knowing this, who would you vote for? This is a lie. He didn't say that. And this didn't happen. This is all completely fake. So in addition to the results of this poll not making any sense, they're admitting it. They're admitting, like, in order to try to cook these results, we just lied about Plattner, but somehow that led to him being more... Wait, is the question fake? The rumors are fake? The question's fake. The rumors are fake. They're both fake. It's all fake. The Uniparty is so fucking committed to getting him out. Anyway, Graham Plattner, you won over Mills. Not surprising. What's going on?
Thank you all very much. I want to thank my mom and my dad, who have loved me unconditionally for 41 years, even when it wasn't easy.
I don't think it's Uniparty in this case, because Schumer's been defending him. No, Schumer's not been defending him. Schumer's been fucking gritting his teeth over this. Schumer obviously wants him to lose to Collins because A, Collins is closer ideologically to Schumer than Plattner is. Schumer and Collins both want infinite death and rape. Plattner doesn't. The actual ideological difference between Collins and Schumer is minuscule. In addition to that, like he still has to pretend he wants a Democrat to win, but I guarantee you he's praying for his downfall. Won't quit? Yeah, no kidding. I didn't even get a chance to talk about the guy because I was out. I didn't even talk about the newest wave of allegations against Graham Plattner, which were disseminated by an actual GOP operative and a hardline Zionist. And all of the worst accusations came from her and couldn't be corroborated by anyone else. Not through any like emails or texts or any like hard physical evidence the New York Times could get. In 2024, from the person who's trying to take down Graham Plattner, serious question, what would go in a Palestinian museum? What are their accomplishments, inventions, and notable figures? Straight up just actual fucking Nazis. Literal GOP operative, actually like an agent of the Republican Party and of Israel, obviously. But But the New York Times ran with it even though they couldn't corroborate the data. ContraPoints joined the attacks on Plattner? I'm sure. I don't know if that's true, but sure, why not? I believe it. I mean, this newest wave also exposed that the original tattoo allegations were from the same person as the individual in the recent one. She was part of a Ladies for Kavanaugh group. That's crazy. New York Post 2018. Inez Stepman and Lindsay Fifield are two millennial women who co-founded the group Ladies for Kavanaugh. Been on it for a while.
Totenkopf tattoo, the Nazi tattoo. How do you kind of...
Somebody said that they talked to somebody who had seen one of those or wore one of those, and it was silver, and it didn't even occur to him that it was the same thing. I think people are making as much of it as they can because they don't have a lot of substance around anything else. And if they did, we'd hear about it, believe me. They are trolling for dirt.
What if he has like a Israeli flag tattoo or something? Would that be a deal breaker?
For me?
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
That would be
Israeli? Yeah, because I don't support genocide, and he doesn't
Colossal truth nuke.
either. And that would show that he was being inconsistent. And he's been very consistent about that. Straight across the board.
Meaningless, antiquated Nazi tattoo gotten by a drunk soldier who disavows now and has been ideologically opposed to fascism for decades versus ardent supporter of current existing Nazi regime. Actual existing Nazism. Giga truth nuke.
Life of dignity and a government that actually serves its people.
For decades, are we sure? Yes, from his Reddit posts. He might have said some chuddy things in his Reddit posts from like 2013 or whatever, over 10 years ago. But he was he explicitly denounced like right-wing ideology in those posts. He did say base that, yeah, it was like Gamergate era or whatever. So yeah, no. I mean, what motivation would he have to be like a secret Nazi, but then have a Reddit account and like lie and pretend to be a progressive over a decade before running for Senate, you know? That's 1.5 decades, which you'll notice has an S at the end, plural, 1.5 decades.
You don't just believe in a different kind of politics. You have dedicated your time and your talents to it. It is a service to our state and to our nation, and thank you.
Yippee!
I also want to thank Governor Janet Mills for a lifetime of service to a state that we both love. We are eternally grateful.
This is why they blitzed hit pieces. Yeah. It is legitimately that cynical. The writing on the wall is that Plattner is going to beat Collins pretty handily, so they have been gunning through the accusations as hard as fucking possible. It is crazy how hard they've been going, from fake accusations to the New York Times backing GOP operatives. Again, like total uniparty shit. The Democrats and the Republicans working in lockstep to prevent an anti-Zionist from winning. They are doing everything they can. Where's the fucking, where's them asking Collins right outside the goddamn office? Where was that? Did I have that here? Is that any one of these? It's fucking gone. It's gone and it's never coming back. Oh.
Do you believe the denials from Graham Plattner and from this New York Times report? Do you believe his denials?
The allegations against Graham Plattner are extremely
What accusations? They won't say. They won't say. They're going to do the same thing that YouTube Nazi slop drama, whatever the fuck people do, which is they'll just refer obliquely to the accusations rather than specifically, because it sounds so much worse when you say the accusations.
troubling and serious, and he owes the people of Maine a detailed answer.
He says that
And
this is
I haven't heard that yet.
Phenomenal. Anyway.
Any of those who feel let down or disappointed or disillusioned, it is my job to earn your trust, faith, and support. And I will spend every day of this campaign, and if I have the privilege, every day in the United States Senate doing exactly that. It is deeply humbling to stand here as your Democratic nominee. It is an honor, and I will not let you down.
From Sheldon Whitehouse. Oh yeah, I saw this one. Dem Senator Whitehouse says he's, quote, not impressed by the allegations against Graham Plattner in the latest New York Times report. That's a beast mode statement right there. You're not even saying, like, you're not even, like, defending Plattner necessarily. You're just treating these like DBZ strikes that he no-hits, or that he no-sells, you know? Yeah, I would say the latest attack by the deep state was middling at best. He didn't even feel that. Seems like a lot of nothing. I mean, the only one who had anything to say that seemed unsettling was a woman who works for right-wing political operations. You can't say it. You can't say it. Fucking Schumer will come after you.
Until recently, I thought that Harbor Master would be the height of my political career. It now appears that things have changed. But it's funny, this morning was a normal one. I woke up in my home, just a few doors down from the house I grew up in. Amy and I shared a pot of coffee. We walked our dogs on the same road I spent most of my life on. We spent the afternoon knocking on doors and getting ready for this evening. And then we drove down here to Blue Hill, where I was born. Born in a maternity ward that has since closed.
Oh.
I am a son of rural Maine. I was a kid who picked...
Dude, look at the fucking New York Times article covering him. They're so fucking complicit, man. Graham Plattner, the progressive oyster farmer who toppled Maine's political establishment even as a series of unsettling revelations about his past rattled his party, has won the Democratic nomination for Senate on Tuesday. Chuck Schumer and Kirsten Gillibrand, leaders of the Democrats' election efforts in the chamber, have been cool at best to Graham Plattner's candidacy. They both endorsed Governor Janet Mills of Maine in the primary and offered lukewarm endorsement of Plattner after Mills withdrew. They're going to keep going after him.
Blueberries under the July sun, and then one day, I was a kid who signed up and left to fight for his country. And when I returned, I carried with me the weight of forever wars and the struggle and the alienation that came with it. But I'm also a lucky one who found his way back, who found a living on the sea, in a home, in a community that offered love and redemption. Redemption is not just some simple or easy destination. It's a journey. I've made mistakes in my life, mistakes that I regret, that I live with, and that I continue to learn from. And I'm still far from perfect. But every day, I wake up and I try to be a little bit better and a little bit kinder than I was the day before. And if you give me the chance, I will be a senator for the people who cannot afford...
Do you think there's going to be a Cuomo-style independent run during the general? No. I just think that the Democratic Party, or at least Schumer, is going to mostly back Collins. I don't think that they're going to do it directly. I just think they're going to do what they did with Mamdani, which is they're either going to, like, really half-handedly defend Plattner, or they're going to dedicate all their energy to having internal critiques over whether or not he's the right guy to lead the Senate race in Maine, as though there's any going back at this point. Like, the energy consolidated around Plattner. Plattner has been doing a phenomenal job motivating people and building a ground game. People act like Plattner just, like, was picked by Chud Bernie bro leftists or whatever, but he legitimately has done a good campaign. He has run a good campaign. He has done a good job. So we're going to get a bunch of think pieces on Democrats being like, the Republicans are attacking him. They wouldn't have attacked Mills. As if there's any difference between fucking Mills and Collins winning a goddamn Senate seat.
To buy a senator. I will stand up for you and against billionaires and greedy corporations. I will serve you, the people of Maine, not some lobbyist or party boss. I will be the champion for your dreams as if it were my own, no matter the challenge or the expense. I will fight for you. I have been willing to die for my country. There is nothing that I will not do for the state of Maine. You have lifted me up. You have had my back. This is the state that raised me, and this is the state that saved me. Now, I am not a deeply religious man, and yet I cannot help but think tonight about a hymn.
Crazy how rare this admission is in U.S. government, even though it's the case for all of them, basically.
I once was lost, but now I'm found. Found because of the grace of the people of Maine. Grace comes when a tree falls and your neighbor brings over a chainsaw. Grace comes when your truck gives out late at night and someone you've never met stops to help you. Grace comes when you need it most and expect it least, when your parents need a hand and an old friend doesn't hesitate to go shovel the driveway. Or when a teacher, as underpaid as they are, stays late after school, gives up their own precious free time to help a kid who has fallen behind. Grace is not inevitable, but here in Maine, sometimes it feels like it is. And that is something I will never take for granted. It is a mighty gift, and one that I am committed to extending outwards. Maine, I love you. I love this state.
They love this shit, man. They love it.
Now the national pundits, the political establishment, they keep looking for that one story, that one headline, that one moment in my life that they can define the campaign by. But in trying so hard to understand me, they failed to understand that this is not about me at all. This is a movement about us. About the far too many working far too hard and struggling far too much at the hands of the ruling class. It is not a story of my hardship, it's of our hardship. A story of the hardship of every working Mainer. People that used to be able to start in the summertime, plow in the winter, dig clams, and be able to send your kid off to college, but you can't anymore.
All right, we get it. We get it. He won the primary. This was, again, an expected outcome. I want to take a look a little bit more at some media cope responding to both the accusations against him and also his eventual victory. Why the Dem drop out anyway? Mills? Because she was 1,000,000 years old and a piece of shit and worthless. I asked Bernie Sanders if there's concerned sexual assault allegations could come out on Graham Plattner after the... What a fucking insane thing. What? Hey, a right-wing operative said that one time he like held her in a room or something. What if someone comes out with a rape story? Also, the author of the New York Times piece worked for AIPAC. Yeah, not surprising. Former AIPAC Activist of the Year, Katie Gluick. Yeah. Jesus Christ. Luke. Okay, what do we have here? Hold on. Fox News responding. Ro Khanna is like full-throatedly defending Plattner, which I think is fantastic, even though people are mad at him about it.
If the Democratic Party is going to exist, it needs to become the anti-war party. I fucking love this place.
I don't know why you want to go to the Senate.
I think a lot of people in this country would like to see more regular people in politics. And most people in this country have gone through something.
Van Jones was insufferable at him. Van Jones, the Israeli asset who lied about children in Gaza dying. That one?
Form of transformation throughout their lives. They've not been living perfect lives all the time.
What do you say to someone that says, oh, Ro, I agree with Graham's policies. I'm glad you're going there. But you know, after the stuff coming out, my granddaughter. What do you say to someone like that?
If you believe in transformational politics, You need to believe in the ability for people to transform. And I came out of the infantry at a time where, like, you sucked it up.
Were you getting help or no?
No, God, no. Which is why I was self-medicating.
Right.
And this was a point in my life where I didn't believe that PTSD was real.
Do you ever have flashbacks?
It really just manifested as, like, deep depression and anxiety. Intense combat sort of changes your brain.
Do you now, seeing where you are, say, hey, I could have been a better person in terms of how I
course.
was?
I had, frankly, witnessed the most awful things a person could witness and see. And it was all done in the service of seemingly nothing.
Did anyone in your family ever serve?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, my father did.
Does all of Maine look like this? My understanding is that when the weather's nice, but Maine is subject to the kind of blistering cold storms that makes men go mad as they station the lighthouses out by the bay, you know? Like it's the weather's nice now, but just you wait till the hoar frost be rattling the windows and ye shack outside the lighthouse and the frost cling to you. It's the kind of shit people do be writing about Innsmouth over, you know?
But like many of my uncles did, my grandfather.
My grandfather was part of Gandhi's independence movement in the 1930s and 40s, fighting for India's freedom and human rights.
So you come from a good tradition.
As do you.
Of fighting
Both
against,
fighting for freedom.
Fighting for freedom and for decency and justice in this world.
You know, Trump ran saying he wasn't going to get in these wars. And
okay, West Coaster, I don't understand what's the dunk supposed to be here. Do you disagree that Maine can have like cold, briny winters? I don't understand what you're arguing about. Take it up with Stephen King.
then he goes and starts this war in Iran, and Thomas Massey and I are yelling on the House floor when Donald Trump was threatening to blow up Iranian civilization. I wasn't saying, hey, come consult Congress. I said, no, the American president can't commit genocide.
Well, clearly he can, Ro. Maybe you should do your research. Oh, the fucking Van Jones link somebody posted was posted by Van Jones himself. He's so fucking pathetic, dog. 160 likes, 600 comments.
You know, it's a moment.
And he's posting the goddamn landscape formatted video in portrait on his goddamn Twitter account, man. He doesn't even know how to do this properly. Jesus Christ.
In this party, this is tough. You know, I think that I hear people in our party, and they're saying, why are we so tough on our bad guys when the Republicans are so soft on their bad guys? And so, you know, that's the kind of stuff when you're a parent, you struggle with that, because it's like, look, we're running this house. We're not running the house across the street. We're not running the neighbor's house. We're running this house. What bothers me about what he's done is not just the things that are being reported about him, but that his stories just don't hold up.
It's so fucking funny to see people like Van Jones adopt this, like, we're better than this attitude, as if they're not the most ghoulish fucking defenders of actual existing Nazism on Earth. They're fucking gleefully defending genocide, and then they have to turn around and be like, well, I'm just concerned about the soul of the Democratic Party, you know? The soul of the Democratic Party. I only support rape when the IDF is committing it, etc. Except no one's even accused Plattner of rape, but you wouldn't know that if you listen to CNN fucking ask about the allegations without specifying what's being talked about. CNN panel discussion? Oh, thank God Collins is there. Caitlin Collins, save me.
Look, I mean, as we were saying, Susan Collins has had a lot of races. This will be her toughest race. There's no doubt about it. Just listening to everything that he was saying there, talking about she voted for a war that he was in. But I think this is still about Graham Plattner. And he started to pivot. The question is, can he successfully pivot? I think, you know, perhaps the most important line and the biggest question for the next 5 months, do Maine voters trust him? And he said, to all those who feel let down, disappointed, or disillusioned, it's my job to earn your trust. So that is, I think, the challenge for him, to earn the trust as Republican ads start pummeling him about his character and things. So if there's no shoe to drop, perhaps this moves on, but that's an open question for one. But for two, I think the challenge is still making this about Susan Collins. And yes, he's doing it in this speech here, but this is the easiest night of the rest of the campaign for him. It gets much harder come morning.
Yeah, I mean, Susan Collins has obviously been a political powerhouse in Maine, as Jeff noted earlier, you know, how she's prevailed in these races before. When you listen to that, Congressman, as someone who is obviously endorsed him, he's going after Susan Collins. He mentioned the Epstein files, and obviously that's been something that you've led the charge on here in Washington. He said that she's never met a war she didn't like. I mean, do you think those are going to be effective attacks come this November?
Susan Collins is formidable, but Graham has had a terrific night. When it looks like he's going to be near 75% of the vote, that's a big thing. And his speech showed both humility and strength. He talked about Maine giving him grace, Maine giving him a second chance. He talked about the need to earn people's votes. So this was not an arrogant speech. He understands he needs to do work, and he understands they're giving him a chance at redemption.
God bless Ro Khanna, man. I know I got problems with him, but thank God there's at least one Democrat who doesn't support pedophilia, genocide, and also wants to win. What a rarity, huh? It's sickening that my support for Ro Khanna largely comes down to that. Like, not a broad appreciation of his character or his rhetoric or, like, specific things he's done. It's just that's how low the bar is.
And yet he was strong. He said, I'm going to tax the billionaires. I'm not going to have these foreign wars. I'm going to take on the corporate interests and PAC money. I'm going to call for the release of the Epstein files. We have not had a candidate with that kind of clarity and strength run against Collins.
Perhaps clarity, but not moral clarity. He talked about grace. He had several different lines about grace. What about the grace for the women who made serious allegations against him, reported in the New York Times? He talked about
mean the right-wing operative that had claims that couldn't be corroborated anywhere?
Collins being corrupt. He talked about Susan Collins voting to give funding to ICE, taking our neighbors and putting them in unmarked vans. So now
that's just a factual. What the fuck are you talking about? That's just a factual description of what she did. That's the straight. What about what she did that?
Now he's a warrior for minorities. The same guy with a Nazi tattoo, and he didn't know it was a Nazi tattoo. Or the only people I know who get Nazi tattoos on their chest are actual Nazis. This is going to be an election about character. Now, the voters in Maine may not like every single thing about Susan Collins, but Susan Collins is a woman who broke a lot of history, who does have bipartisan support, who has not always voted with her party. She's not a person who supports women merely when it's convenient.
They're really going to try to run with this. They've been doing it for months, by the way. The idea that Collins is some kind of like moderate maverick or whatever. She votes with Trump like nearly 100% of the time.
Convenient for her, as we're seeing with Graham Plattner, who I thought it was very ironic that he was surrounded by a ton of women in the midst of giving this campaign speech. This will come down to someone they know versus a guy who uses and says whatever he has to say to get his way, and I don't think it's going to work.
We will see what happens. Obviously, it's going to be an ugly campaign between the two of them.
Fucking yes, and as people keep pointing out, Stephen King did vote for Plattner, and he posted it on Blue Sky, which is very funny because Blue Sky fucking hates Plattner. You must be so proud. God, look at this. Fucking millennials, man. I mean, a Nazi domestic abuser sounds like good antagonist in a fiction plot, but in real life, not so much. You did not have to admit this or to be so proud of it. Ah, man, it's like every post. What the fuck? Good job getting absolutely jobbed by the propaganda, Lamau. What propaganda proceeds to link a fucking Google Doc named Graham Plattner Timeline and Lies? Oh my god. Google Docky. Noted author Stephen King does not care about the emotional and physical abuse of women. During one argument, she recalled, he twisted her arm behind her back, shoved her into a bedroom, and held the door closed from the other side so she couldn't get out, telling her to remain there until she was calm. Eventually, Miss Fifield said she fell asleep and left the next morning. Fifield, where have I heard that name before? Keep in mind, couldn't be corroborated. Maine voters are actual lions. What? A fascinating result I found while looking at Maine polling, a full 45% of Maine Democrats think Kamala Harris was either probably or definitely the legitimate winner of the 2024 election. What the fuck? Holy shit, Blue Anon. Oh my god, warriors. That's the kind of energy we need to win this these upcoming midterms. Fuck, that's funny. Blue Sky isn't too happy Plattner easily won the nomination. One of these days we'll really dig through Blue Sky, find some funny gems. Those people are fucking sick, man. They're sick in the head. Well, God bless Plattner. Good luck to him. The Uniparty's going to try to take him down real hard.
Voters in Maine head to the polls today to decide on their candidates for Senate. Incumbent Senator Susan Collins runs unopposed on the Republican side, while oyster farmer and veteran Graham Plattner leads in polling among the Democratic candidates, but he faces multiple headwinds, including a story last week by the New York Times that found Plattner had difficult relationships with several former girlfriends. One even alleged that Plattner knew what the purported Nazi symbol he had tattooed on his chest meant, despite his public denial.
Yeah, no shit. But also, that's the uncorroborated one. That's another uncorroborated one from a right-wing op.
It should be noted several other women spoke of their relationship with Plattner in warmer tones. This all comes after the Wall Street Journal previously reported that Plattner exchanged sexual text messages with other women during his marriage, and his wife knew. Plattner has since responded to the report, saying he was, quote, far from a perfect boyfriend, and attributing his past behavior to a, quote, dark period in his life. Plattner has been vocal about dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder after his time in the military. Let's bring in MS Now congressional reporter Kevin Fry, who joins us live from Bangor, Maine. Kevin, you've been talking with Maine voters ahead of...
Who cares? Voters aren't marrying him. It is crazy that they're still trying to bring down progressive politicians on civility and character grounds when the country is being ruled by a cabal of pedophiles, you know? Not just Republicans either. It's not just the Trump administration. Like, Schumer and everyone who agrees with him are insane fucking pro-pedophile, pro-genocide Nazis. And we still have to run through this. Oh, did you know he was a bad boyfriend? I don't care. I don't care. Apparently he used to date a right-wing operative. I hope he was a worse boyfriend. I don't give a shit.
Today's primary, what have you heard them say?
Yeah, I mean, look, and don't confuse them with the Paul Bunyan statue behind me. Look, there's been relatively, as we've been talking to folks over the past several days up and down the coasts of Maine, voters are still standing with Plattner for the large part amongst Democrats, saying...
So like choking it out.
They're kind of buying into this narrative that the campaign has put forward, that this is a redemption arc, that he made some mistakes, he came back from the war, he was troubled, and now he's working to improve his life. Never mind that some of these things were just from the last few years. A lot of voters also willing to...
Oh, he's fucking mad.
...say those are personal issues, we're focused on the policy. So it comes down to this kind of back and forth of perfect messenger versus perfect message. And a lot of people like what they're hearing from him. We've talked to people at some of these town halls, including one woman, for instance, who said after these last two stories out of the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, she really kind of had some reservations, even though she was a volunteer for the campaign. But then she came to the town hall the other night and said she was 1,000% committed behind him, liking his populist, economic, take on the billionaire sort of messaging.
God bless.
Here's, though, some of the trepidation, some of the anxiety that you're hearing from some voters who are kind of willing to say, okay, really, this is the best option we have. Take a listen.
I'd like to think we could get someone that doesn't have as much baggage as Plattner, but right now it looks like he's our best choice to win. So he's got my vote.
I think any of those things are abhorrent, and I'm sorry that he has that. But look at what we're dealing with on a federal level. I mean, they haven't done anything with the Epstein file.
Yeah, it looks bad, but like, I don't really care, to be honest with you. This, again, like, it's worth remembering, this is actually rational behavior. We're laughing because it's funny, but this is actually like a computer decision. Normally we make fun of voters for being stupid, but like, yeah, this is obviously the correct thing to believe.
There have been some things that have come out that have disappointed me a little bit about Graham Plattner. However, I still think he's the best candidate.
Then the question becomes, of course, what do voters who have trepidations, particularly if there is another shoe that drops, which I know is engaging in a bit of a hypothetical, but what do those voters do? Some are saying they're committed to staying behind him. They won't necessarily identify what the line too far would be, though we have heard from some who said, you know what, maybe I just wouldn't vote. I don't want Susan Collins by any means. She needs to go, but maybe I just won't fill in that line on the ballot.
You know how the media is crazy biased against Plattner and is complicit? They don't ask these questions about Trump. Nobody goes up to Trump supporters and says, okay, like, how far would it have to go before you stop supporting him? They've basically given up on examining Trump supporters as like a phenomena or whatever. Whereas like they're like gleefully anticipating the next drop from some fucking Zion Nazi against him, you know? They don't like they're clearly want more. They're awaiting the next, op drop from the fucking Democratic Senate committee.
The one other kind of interesting component here is when you talk about the messenger versus the message, there was a little bit of me that kind of kept going back to 2016.
If they had worse shit to drop it, they would have dropped it. No, or waited till the general. They would wait till the general. They're going to keep lying about him.
And the Trump part of all of this, obviously, he has defined our politics for the past decade. Democrats have traditionally liked to tout the fact that they hold their candidates to a higher standard. And so when I would ask voters, okay, I mean, you're saying you're okay, you're willing to accept some of what Plattner has done, but you're very quick to criticize, Trump and the various scandals that.
Remember, this is Democrat media. This is MSNBC. This is Morning Joe, and he's comparing Graham Plattner being a bad boyfriend, allegedly, to Donald Trump being a lunatic child rapist, serial child rapist. That's the comparison he's drawing right here on MSNBC.
He has around him, and their response was, they pale in comparison to what Trump is accused to have done.
Interesting. Congressional reporter for MS Now, Kevin Fry, reporting live from Bangor, Maine. Thank you very much. So, David Drucker, I'll start with you on the politics of the issues surrounding this candidate in Maine. When you look at a candidate that the president himself, who has his own issues as it pertains to women, endorsed in Texas. I think these Maine voters...
Like, are you seeing any media attention being paid to Ken Paxton right now? Ken Paxton is legitimately like an insane piece of shit. A fucking psychopath. And basically no attention's being paid to that. It's all Plattner. Even as he wins in a primary where his opponent, Mills, dropped out. Like, the result of this primary was guaranteed. It was never, ever going to go any other way. It was just a matter of the margins.
Are making the point that I'm pointing to right now, which is, look at what we're dealing with. Republicans almost take pride in some of these same issues.
Well, that's certainly one way to look at it, Mika, and a lot of Democrats feel that way. But let's flip it around for a second, right? What have we been talking about with Ken Paxton in Texas for months? That Republican voters have been willing to look past all of the baggage, all of the scandals. I've said repeatedly here that he may be the most scandal-plagued politician I've ever covered.
Constant comparisons to Trump.
And yet, what have I heard from Republican voters in Texas? What do you expect us to do? The other side is so much worse. And besides, we all have skeletons in our closet anyway.
Jesus Christ. I'm also scrolling Twitter, my other monitor. I just saw Alex Latcham, a quote-unquote Team Trump campaign vet, found grahamplattner.org. I am surprised that Graham Plattner's team did not snatch up the .org web address. That is surprising to me.
Even if it's true, there's just no way I'm voting for a Democrat. So now we're in Maine, and what are they telling us? Kevin Fry's reporting over the past few days has been very revealing. They're telling him the same things that Republican voters in Texas told me. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but even if it is, we all have skeletons in our closet. And besides, what do you expect us to do? Look at what we're dealing with. And I think this just tells us that all American voters are pretty much alike, and that, 10 years plus...
Yep, man, Trump voters are just like Graham Plattner voters. An accusation that he was a bad boyfriend directed from a literal GOP operative is exactly the same as having hundreds of thousands of FBI documents naming you as a close confidant of the most notorious child sex trafficking scandal in human history. This is Morning Joe. This is MSNBC. This is what we get. Democrat media. The Uniparty is aligned against him.
The Trump era, a lot of politicians on both sides of the aisle are very much the same in their character and presentation. And it turns out a lot of American voters are the same in what they're willing to tolerate and accept and look past, because they feel...
Look at how willing Democrats are to sell out their own party too. Like what he's saying straightforwardly right now is Democrat voters are just as morally rancid as Trump voters. Oh, you support Plattner, a good person? Well, you're just like the literal fucking rot that's destroying this country. They'll do it for the sake of Israel, for the sake of capital, for the sake of Zionism. They'll do or say anything. They'll say it about you. They'll tear their own party apart. They don't care.
Like the opposition party, the other side, is so egregious that they don't have a choice.
Yeah, Eugene, obviously David is right. There's that old line that from Trump supporters over the years that we are electing a president, not a saint, and they're willing to overlook so much because they think he'll deliver for them. And that's exactly the kind of sentiment we're hearing out of Maine from Democrats. Yes, as was just pointed out, that some voters find these new reporting from the New York Times, the tattoo, some of the previous posts he's made disqualifying, but maybe not enough. We've heard from more Democrats who say, I don't love all that stuff, but I also want to win this Senate seat, and I believe he gives us the best chance.
Yeah, I think, what is it, Joe Biden's own line, compare me to the alternative, not to the almighty. That seems to be the way American politics works these days.
You'll notice none of them are disagreeing with the assertion that Democrat voters and Republican voters are the same. This is your party. This is what they think of you. Always remember that. Remember that in this instance, the Democrats on this panel would literally rather defend Trump and his voters than accept that Graham Plattner is not as bad as Trump and that you are not as bad as a Trump supporter for voting for Graham Plattner. Why are they saying that? Do they really think voters are the same? For Tel Aviv! Let's go!
And it has worked over the last decade. Now, did Donald Trump cause all of this, or were voters ready for this? It's a chicken-egg problem or a chicken-egg question, but in the end, that's where we are. And what you heard those voters in Maine saying is that we prefer this to the alternative. And they're looking at the big national picture. They're looking at whether or not Democrats can control the Senate as a way of putting some sort of...
AOC being disappointing once again. Yeah, she did essentially imply she believes the New York Times story.
When it comes to the substance of this reporting, obviously there's a lot in that behavior that's really challenging. It's hard to stomach, in some of it. But at the end of the day, I think that this is a choice. If the choice on the ballot is between that and a senator who's voted...
Wow, what a ringing endorsement of a fellow progressive running in a Senate. Thank you, AOC. Thank you, fucking Justice. Thank you. You're doing so much good work over here. Thank you for fighting, as always, for a progressive takeover of the Democratic Party.
To take health care away from millions of Americans. That's the situation that we have to weigh.
It's like voting for Plattner is like eating shit, but if the alternative's starving, I guess. Well, thank you, AOC, as always. Thank you. More weakness? Dog, this is not weakness. She's fucking captured. This isn't weakness. Like, she literally, I guarantee you, she's literally saying she believes a right-wing operative making uncorroborated accusations against Graham Plattner. She believes that over Graham Plattner.
Restraint on the Trump administration, on the last 2 years of Donald Trump's second presidency, which they fear. And so I don't think anything is going to keep those voters from voting for Graham Plattner. I think he wins, obviously, easily today, and I think he has a very good chance of becoming the next senator.
Yeah, one of the fundamental questions we grapple with in politics today.
Just because someone labeled them both progressive doesn't mean he's entitled to every endorsement. Nah, I disagree. I think that AOC is my endorsement slave. I think she has to endorse, or it's morally wrong. Yeah, I think you're wrong on that. She doesn't owe you her progressive support. I disagree, woke one warrior. She's a proud woman. She doesn't owe you doing her job.
The rules don't apply to Donald Trump. We've known that. Things that have sunk any other candidate. He has survived routinely since 2016.
Are we going to get the fourth person on this panel to just directly compare Plattner to Trump?
But does that standard now only apply to him, or have the rules changed for others too? And Rev, that's what's interesting here, because Democrats have still, for the most part, tried to keep their candidates within the standards of acceptable behavior, if you will. This is one where, at least for now, they're willing to overlook some things because they think he's the best candidate. They want to win. And truthfully, let's be clear, he's also a very talented politician. He resonates with voters. Like, there's a lot of reasons why his message resonates. There's a lot of people that find him so compelling. But we should note, Susan Collins is a survivor. She has been down the polls before, has won. And I guess that's the concern Democrats have expressed to me, that if these stories reduce the enthusiasm for Plattner just a little, or those like on the fence voters who maybe would have broken to him now go her or stay home, that might be enough for Collins to squeak by again?
The risk is that Susan Collins is someone that has always beat the odds. But the fact is that in many ways, people have changed in terms of their political decisions. I think not despite Trump, but in many ways because of Trump. Trump was not only, when we say that he has baggage and that Paxton is worse, Trump was found guilty by a jury of his peers,
Liable.
not Paxton. He was found liable but guilty of the criminal fraud case by a jury of his peers. There's a difference in a guy saying these were allegations I got around them and a guy that was found guilty in civil court and criminal court. And we made him president twice.
That's five people on this panel. It's everyone, right? Has anyone challenged the underlying? All of them agree with it. All of them are like, yep, you're right. Voting for Plattner is like how people vote for Trump. No moral standards anymore. They just all have like different levels of resignment to that idea.
So the question is whether or not they'll be like Trump or whether Trump has changed the whole politics.
Well, I think for the Plattner campaign, the focus might be for them, and I've heard a little bit of this. I mean, look, if they want to, because Susan Collins is a survivor, that's for sure, look at her votes. And look how Maine has been impacted, and look how Maine is doing, and how Mainers are doing right now, and look at his message and compare them to what she has voted for with this president. And I think you may have a winning argument. I do, despite the reports that are troubling for sure. I think his message is strong, and many would argue that some of her votes are pretty.
Allison's agreeing with the assessment. He's condemning Trump for burying the standards in general. Isn't that the same? They're all talking about how Graham Plattner, like voting for Graham Plattner is a sign of the same moral decay as voting for Trump. And his chime in is like, well, yeah, Trump is bad and people vote for him anyway. It seems like he's just saying in another way that Trump has contributed to an environment where people feel comfortable voting for bad candidates. Sharpton saying it's not serious to compare them. I think that's a charitable read. I think that Sharpton is saying that they're not directly comparable, but he's not really challenging the underlying logic. He would just argue the logic is applicable, but to a greater extent to Trump. Whatever.
Damaging as well.
Hate these fucking people, man. To be fair, Plattner had a Nazi tattoo that would kill a political career before Trump. Yeah, that's probably true, but that doesn't really change the logic of the argument that they're making. The logic of the argument is that people are willing to vote for Trump in spite of how bad of a person he is because it's politically expedient, and that is the environment in which Plattner is getting votes. And I don't really think those things are directly comparable. Plattner had a Nazi tattoo, but he's not a Nazi. There are plenty of people in office right now who don't have Nazi tattoos but are Nazis. I challenge the underlying assertion. I don't really care. I just don't care, man. Yeah, Hegseth has multiple Nazi-esque tattoos and is a Nazi. That is true.